All right. What is going on, everybody, on a Sunday, April 11th, 2021? How you doing out there, Falcon fans and Atlanta Bird Gang? Also on Steve's Sports Talk Lounge in YouTube. I am happy to join you today. And on my, I guess that would be right. On my right is none other than Mr. John Harris here. We call him JRJ. Talk to me today, brother. What is going on with you?
The protagonist, the antagonist, the icon, the pot stirrer.
John Harris here. We call him JRJ. Talk to me today, I had to turn down. What is going on with you? I had to turn down my thing.
Oh, man. Oh, they getting 2 times the fun. They need to pay for this. They need to pay for it.
Oh, I had to turn down my thing. All right.
Oh, man. Oh, they getting 2 times the fun. They need to pay for this.
All right. So we are, let me turn this down. I'm getting some feedback here. There we go. All right. Can you hear me, Jay?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
There we go. I had my volume up too high, and I was doubling up on folks. So, again, let's start over. Happy Sunday to everybody. JR and Steve here on a Sunday to discuss the goings-on this week with the Atlanta Falcons. And as far as this week's concerned, not a whole lot on the plate. However, I'm pretty sure everyone is aware that we are almost 2 weeks away from the NFL draft. And with that being said, there have been so many different opinions about what we should do, whether we should get a quarterback, whether we should get a tight end, whether we should get a linebacker, where should we go offensive line. I'm just trying to tell you all this is a time where you're going to get too many opinions to worry about who's left and who's right and all of that. So, what, Jay, just straight off the bat, I haven't heard you discuss it, and I'm sure you have in your live, but if you had the card in your hand and they said, it's your turn, don't worry about this one, but it's your turn, where would you go right now?
Me, quarterback.
Yeah.
Got quarterback.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something though, Steve. We did have a little bit of news because
I'm sorry, go ahead.
There was a perceived rift between your new general manager and your new head coach.
Right.
Now, I posted and I just asked the question: is this kind of like the Ken Hera versus Jerry Glanville versus Taylor Smith situation? You remember that?
Yes, I do remember that. Right.
That's how we got Lester Archambault. You know, man just popped up on the practice field. The coach didn't even know he was coming, but they had made a deal with Green Bay to pick up Archambault and cut him here. See, that's that general manager working stuff going on behind the scenes. The stuff that they say that they don't like pro athletes to do themselves.
Right.
But thing is that there was some discussion as to, what are we going to do with this 4th pick? The same discussion that everybody else is having right now.
Of course.
They were discussing, we don't know how deep it got. We don't know how deep. We just knew that it was something going on. And I was saying, because you had Adam Schefter reporting this and Chris Mortensen reporting that. Right. And gloves were put on the hands and knives were put in the hand. And, there was a little bit of talk of gunplay, too, if you live tabloids and all that.
Well, that's not good. That's not. I did see the story that you're talking about. Now, to me, listen, when you're on a team that's devoid of alleged talent, and I say that to say the last regime, if you ask them, they thought they did a great job of drafting. But if you have a team devoid of talent and holes that we have on this team, I'm not mad if people say Paris Sewell. I'm not upset if people say Michael Parsons. Shoot, I'm not even upset if somebody says go wide receiver with Jamar Chase or Devontae Smith. I'm not mad at that. I think what I've just determined is at the trending of our franchise at this time is where your leadership on the field needs shaking up. And even if you draft somebody that may not start this year, I think you start looking towards 2022, 23, 24, and what's going to happen down the line, rather than to play the game that we played in 2018, where we drafted him because we need to fill some holes to help Matt. We drafted him 2019 to fill holes to help Matt. We drafted defense so we could fill holes to help Matt. And every year we come up with the same results. Does it sound familiar?
Oh, yeah. Look, does it sound familiar? We've been doing it for 13 years.
All the time.
We've been doing it for 13 years. And see, something else, Steve. Now, I don't know whether you caught what it was that I posted, because, see, now everybody's talking about, getting
right. Hold on 1 second.
23, 24.
I don't know why my volume keeps messing up on me. Sorry about that. Go ahead. Talk, Jay.
I might be talking too loud over there. But at any rate, can you hear me now?
Go ahead, Jay. You good? You got
okay. Okay. I just want to make sure. I had posted, why buy bullets for a rusty gun?
True.
Why buy shiny new bullets for a rusty gun?
True.
Oh, see, it's the gun that's the problem.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily the bullets. It's the gun.
Right.
So see, this coaching staff is in one of the most, just look at the mental gyrations we're going through as far as trying to figure out what it is that we want to do.
Right.
Just look at that.
Right.
And this coaching staff and the front office of our team, they going through the same thing, because see, look, 4th picks in the first round of the NFL draft are either bought with other picks, other promises, other things that you could use in future years. Look at what San Francisco did. Look at what who else? I mean, man, folk moving, shaking, doing whatever, trying to get those picks because they want quarterbacks. We are here now. The 7-9 next year. Say, for instance, we go 7-9, 6-10. We're gonna be at number 15.
Yeah.
Now, what? Okay, say for instance, there's a quarterback that we want and that we need bad because we didn't do anything this year. We're gonna have to put together picks. We're gonna have to start bribing folk. We're gonna have to hold people hostage, do all kinds of crazy stuff just to get back where we were. Okay. Now, people go in the shop for the groceries, and you see too, Steve, that they fired everybody up there in the scouting department.
They did the whole team.
I mean, Orleans just came here and said, get, just go, GEAUX, go. Got rid of all of them because these people have been stealing money, Steve. Those people been sitting up there fat catting. And all right, we'll just do what this, go over here and see if we can find Rudy Poop and put him on the team there. That ought to be good. He's 6'5", 380 pounds. Yeah, that's what they want. Go get him. Go put him on the team. And that's what we've been playing with from time to time. Perry or Jerry.
Yeah. Jamal Anderson, not the running back. Yeah. Jamal Anderson.
Peter Combs.
It is funny you talk about that, and I didn't set the slate for that. What we're also going to talk about today, in addition to what's going on with the current Falcons, we want to hear your best and worst draft picks in Atlanta Falcon history. We're going to throw up a list here in a couple of minutes once we kind of get settled, but we're going to, take a couple of early comments from you guys, but then we're going to go down the list and look at the Falcons down the line, especially in the Dimitroff era, to see what picks. It's not a lot, y'all. Not a lot to choose from. Which picks were the best and which picks make you shake your head and say, how is this man hired as a general manager? Talking about Thomas Dimitroff. Let me go to these comments. Lisa is already on fire. She's talking about boo, not to you, Steve. Talking about my buddy JR and his popular fan base that he has. She says, at this point, I'm just going to buckle up for the ride. I have no idea what the Falcons are going to do. And I think that's really the sentiment of everybody. We don't know. So the speculation is fun to me. I don't know about everybody else. It's fun, especially when you have new folks at the beginning. Michael James Murphy says, Arthur Smith agrees with your gun analogy. No, disagrees. I'm sorry. Disagrees with your gun analogy. Chauncey Leggett says, give me Pitts or 7 extra draft picks. Choose your poison. I don't know about the 7 extra draft picks.
Wait a minute. Hey, Steve. Ask these people how they going to pay for them.
Yeah, I think people don't understand yeah, listen. If we trade back, obviously we're going to get a boatload of, and I say a boatload, you better be getting at least 4 picks if that's going to be your plan. Now, to Jay's point that he just said, we're already at a time where we have 9 picks already. Now, if you do plan on getting some extra picks, maybe the thought is get some extra picks and then later on trade them up to get some higher picks. I don't know. Maybe that's the thought, but you have a great point. You can't pay 16 extra folks on this roster. We already have 9 picks. Yeah. And according to Chauncey Leggett's comment, that's kind of, I don't know. I don't know about that.
Well, okay. I know, and this is another dynamic in the draft situation too. You don't have that much money. They're talking about they might have to try to get rid of Julio this year in order to free up $15 million. Okay. Right. In order to be able just to pay your draft signees, the 9 picks you have right now. See, you had to let go some defensive help. Okay.
Right.
All these picks and everything, it's just like going to the toy store and, seeing a PlayStation 5 in about 6 different colors, all the colors that you like. Go ahead. If you're a big baller, you can afford to go ahead and get it. But if your bank account is telling you you can't get it, you can't get all these things. You can't get
Chauncey does verify and says he means 7 picks over the next 2 years, which might make a little bit more sense if you break it down like that to spread it out. But
we still gonna be in trouble.
That's what I say. I still think there's some we still have some things to look out for. Brother Chris Snyder says that's why you trade down this year and pick up multiple number 1s so you can go get your quarterback. Sanat, he's talking about Sanat for the bust, and which I agree totally. They're still on this roster. So when you say go get your quarterback, are you meaning go get somebody who's already here and established? When you say pick up number 1 so you can go get your quarterback. Yeah. Now the one thing I will say, that nobody knows how next year's draft will come. There are a couple of guys on this list that weren't even heard of before the beginning of 2021. So somebody could come out of the pack, but let's hope the Falcons aren't up this high to pick again. That's why I'm more in the thought of picking a quarterback now, even if you have to sit, folks. There is no scientific evidence that shows if you sit your quarterback for 1 year or 2 years, that's a waste of time, a waste of money. I remind people, we paid Matt Schaub $9 million 2 times. We paid him $9 million to sit on the bench. You're going to pay a backup quarterback at number 1 a little bit less. And you're going to get somebody who hasn't peaked, somebody who hasn't been coached, somebody who is raw, somebody who a new coach is going to have a field day with, trying to, get this guy to be the next Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen or somebody like that. What do you think, Jay?
Well, you're absolutely right. And the trains of thought as far as bringing people in and starting them immediately and them having all that type of impact. See, sometimes that works, sometimes that doesn't. And while we're talking about quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers, Steve Young, Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, who else?
Yeah.
Doug Williams.
Yeah.
And see, when I started calling off the roster, Steve, the very first thing a lot of people started doing, well, that was 20 years ago. It's NFL history, man. I don't care how long ago it is. These are the same people that devalue NFL league championships. I don't care. It's in the history books. It has happened. And see, the thing is that right now, this coach, we don't know anything about him. He's never been in the big chair before.
Right.
Okay. Right. This can go either right or this can go left. I mean, it's a roll of the dice, but you're getting some new dice to roll. You're getting some new dice to roll. We already know what we got. The arm, which was weak already, is getting weaker. Yeah. I'm not about to say senility is sitting in, but the body can't do what the mind wants it to do.
Yeah, I don't think he's losing anything. From mental standpoint, no. I just don't think he can do it anymore. I don't think he can do those things. We were spoiled so rotten in 2016. We were spoiled. We were absolutely spoiled by Kyle Shanahan, who it seems like everybody wants to throw under the bus now. Kyle Shanahan came in here and Tom House, with Tom House's help in the summertime, and they came in here and forced Matt to be an athlete he wasn't used to being. And when he gave us that 2016 year, the rest of us sat back and said, oh, this is what it's going to be like all the time.
Right.
And you can come up and show me Matt Ryan's year in 2018 where he threw 33 touchdowns and 7 interceptions and say, well, look at the numbers. But you know it wasn't the same. I don't care what you tell me as far as your numbers are concerned. What is he doing with 2 minutes left in the game if I'm down by this mysterious 7 points everybody pointed out to this year? What is he doing to help me win during those last moments? We keep talking about the game with Detroit where Todd Gurley went in and ran the ball. Well, where's Matt Ryan to say, time out, hold on. We deal on it right here, we good. What are we running the ball for? If we're talking about the Dallas game when you had the onside kick, where is Matt Ryan to hold the ball, produce first downs, stop the clock yourself? So while there's a part of me that understands this long-lasting relationship everybody wants to have with Matt, I think there are things there that just say, yeah, you can throw for 4,000 yards. Shoot, the average quarterback is throwing for 4,000 yards now. And with this new 17th game, guess what? Everybody go throw for 4,000 yards. I was looking at something, Jay, just to skip a beat for a second. Do you know how much a running backs are going to have to average now to get 1,000 yards? It's like 46 yards a game or something like that. Yeah. It's like 40. It's not. It's very low. I'm like, dude, stats don't amount to much, folks. They don't. Let me catch some more of these comments and jump in if you tell me you see something. I was putting a couple of them up on the space, but I'm gonna read a couple here. Chauncey, I heard you come back. Michael James Murphy says Julio is the best pick and Mr. Jamal Anderson was the worst. We're getting ready to come on screen with some of these draft years and draft picks. Yeah, I know. Tidy, what's up, brother? Tidy said, there is nothing wrong with sitting your number one draft pick. Nothing at all. The most successful quarterbacks in NFL history has sat on the bench initially, and that's what Jay was just pointing out a few seconds ago. Chauncey said the Falcons have 53 contracts on the books, not including the draft picks this year. Makes sense to keep the fourth pick and get the best available. There are plenty of players in this draft. Tidy, Joe Montana didn't start year one either. Neither did Tom Brady, folks. Sorry, y'all. As he says, thank you, Jay. He was talking to you. I'm looking over here on this side. We got Daniel. What's up, Daniel? How you doing? Says Falcons aren't drafting a quarterback this year unless Zach Wilson is there or Lance. Lance might be there. Rusty, did you find it strange when the story came out this week that Arthur Smith and Terry were not on the same page about the number 4 pick? Was that a smokescreen? Terry supposedly wants a quarterback. Arthur thought Matt had 2 years left. But now they're on the same page again as of Friday. Thought on that? Let me finish reading this and I'm going to give you a thought. Daniel says you draft the quarterback this year, then you trade Matt, and that ain't happening. Get Kellen Mond and develop him. Daniel says stop hating on Ryan. He still got it. He's not Breeze. He lost his arm. I'm going to address that in a second. Steve says, Steve, I'm very disappointed in you. Ryan is Mr. Consistency, and he won a bunch of games for us. Under pressure, that is. Defense has always let this team down. You can literally get the best player at any other position at 4. Yeah, I know.
Now, hold on.
Yeah.
Look, when you want buffalo wings, hot wings, now do you put this on it or do you put this on it?
Right.
I'm just saying.
And I would go hotter. I'd get Tabasco sauce.
or something hotter than this. You don't. Now, if you want barbecue wings, yeah, put barbecue sauce on it. But you look, that ball that Matt Ryan was throwing in 2016 after he had gone with Tom House, a person that Tom Brady had been going to all his career, and that's why that man is as good as he is. You go to him 1 year, and your career turns completely around. You win the MVP. Then it's just like when Shanahan left, you lost your mind. He just lost his mind, and it was deterioration from then all the way until what we have now. You know, and right. That's my problem with it. Because, see, just like you said, Steve, I was spoiled. And I was saying, oh, man, this offense is so explosive, we can do just about anything. And 4,000 yards was not supposed to be the ceiling or the measuring stick. Hey, Patrick Mahomes came and threw for 5,500 yards and 55 touchdowns. Right. You're supposed to be on the same track. That's where this offense was supposed to go. But it didn't, because the things that were learned about the offense were forgotten. You know,
I'll argue your point that our offense, and somebody can laugh at me if they want to, in 2016, our offense was just as explosive as Kansas City's offense.
Yeah.
If you really look at our 2016 offense with Julio balling, Sanu came in and did his stuff. Gabriel wasn't even expected to do anything. He turned out to be okay. You had two-headed monster back there running the ball. Austin Hooper was shining. I mean, we had some really great offense that year. And to your point, that's that's one of the things I look at. I'm gonna go back to two questions real quick. Rusty, going back to Rusty's point when he was talking about the thing you brought up about Terry and the author being on the same thing. Now I'm gonna tell you right now, as far as media is concerned, and I know Daniel, who knows a lot about that. As far as media is concerned, sometimes you have to take these things are gonna be put in there just to make it seem like it's dissension. I like the idea that both of these guys have different ideas. As long as it gets us to the win, that's fine. Yes, eventually you're going to have to come to a consensus on April 29th at probably about 8:40. You're going to have to come to a consensus on it. It doesn't bother me that Terry has a different philosophy than Arthur does. Arthur is the coach. But at the end of the day, whose pick is that supposed to be? That's your general manager's pick. Now, he's supposed to look out for the coach. But at the same time, listen, Terry Fontenot's thought process is, I'm getting this franchise. You gave me the keys. You gave me the keys to the franchise. Here you go. Now, do I hitch my future on somebody? And Daniel, I know, listen, me and Daniel's had plenty of conversations about Matt in the past, and I have defended Matt. I defended Matt to the hilt a long time ago. And to a certain extent, some of the just off-the-wall silly stuff that people say, I defend that too. Because look, we could talk all the junk we want to. From 2008 till 2017, Matt Ryan missed the playoffs 4 times. Matt Ryan had 3 losing records from 2008 to 2017. Let's keep it real. I'm not going to sit here and try to go back and say he was trashed then. Matt had us in the playoffs, if I'm not mistaken, if my addition adds up, 6 years out of 10. Yeah, that ain't Tom Brady. That's not Joe Montana. But at the same time, for a franchise that was used to going 6 years in the last 42 seasons, I think that was pretty good. So I will always support that part. But it's 2021, y'all. The last 3 years, I don't know if y'all see the trend. The trend is we are dipping. And every year we make excuses. We sat here, me and Jay sat on this other side of me here in person. We sat here in 2018. We're expected to have a good year. We went down. 2000, and I know the defense got hurt, whatever. Your quarterback's supposed to push you over that. 2019, we did the same thing. We got pieces to help Matt. We basically got 2 free agents at guard who were garbage, and we drafted 2 guys, one in Lindstrom and one in McGarry, and we said we're going to rebuild this offensive line for him. We haven't seen the fruits of the labor yet totally with the right side. I like both guys myself, but it's too early to call for both of them. I'm not ready to throw them out the pasture yet. But we tried to help Matt in that situation. But is he still being clutch for us? No. Russell Wilson, and I made an argument with somebody online about this week. Aaron Rodgers stands this year with Aaron Jones actually having a really good year. Aaron Rodgers, over the last 7 to 8 years, has had to put the team on his back. His defense was not great. His running game was garbage. His offensive line wasn't protecting him. Sound familiar? Russell Wilson put his team on his back. He had no running game. He had no wide receivers. His defense, the Legion of Boom, were all gone. He still sends his team to the playoffs every year. And I'm trying to tell folks that quarterbacks, great quarterbacks, will their teams to wins, will their teams to situations where they have the ability to win. That's my only problem with Matt. The 4,000 yards is okay. Look, if later on when he's up for Hall of Fame consideration, that's great. That's fine. But for now, 2021, I need a winner. I don't need 18 and 30. I need a winning product in this city. I'm sick and tired of going to games with red seats. I'm sick and tired of talking to somebody 2 sections over about the interception we threw when we were in the red zone. I'm sick and tired of talking about running backs who can't average 3 yards a carry. It's time to stop pretending like we are great, but one piece away. No, we're not. If we were one piece away, we wouldn't have a new GM and a new coach. It's time to stop fooling ourselves. And you start over now when you have the chance. It's Stephen Jr. here in Facebook, Atlanta Bird Gang. We are talking about best and worst draft picks in Atlanta Falcons history. Jay, I got to hear what you're saying about I just, that baffles me when I hear that argument about Matt. It's not a hate for Matt. There's no hate for anybody. It's not that we're not saying that Matt didn't give us some good years. But after 3 years, folks, it's time to start thinking about it. New England won 6 Super Bowls. 6 Super Bowls with that guy at quarterback. And you know what Belichick said? Belichick said it's time to move on. We can't play. We can't do that. We got our first caller today, Jay. Caller, how you doing? Identify yourself. Talk to us.
Hey, Steve, I'm doing great, man. How you doing?
Man, what's going on, Tyler? How you doing, my friend?
Oh, that is that
awesome, man.
what you say, Jay?
is that tidy?
That is, you know it is, man. I didn't even see.
What's up,
We doing fine, brother. What's going on with you? Hey, and everybody wish Toddy's mom a happy birthday, folks. Y'all happy birthday to moms, brother.
Thank you very much, Steve. I'm going to pass that to her, man. I really appreciate that a lot.
No problem, brother. Talk to me, man. What's on your mind? I apologize. I went on a little tangent there.
Oh, no, you all good, man. Since you're talking about draft picks today, I want to call up and kind of, I want to talk about, right now, Kyle Pitts is the hot name, probably the last week and a half in our fan base and a little bit on the media. And I just really want to call in and kind of explain why I really don't want the Falcons to make that fit at all.
The floor is yours.
Okay, let me preface this by saying no matter who we draft, once we draft them, I'm going to support them 3,000%. So
100.
you know, people don't take this the wrong way, but the way this Falcons team is set up currently, you already got Julio Jones, $23 million. You already got Calvin Ridley. He just made the All-Pro team in only like his 4th year. Hayden Hurst. And the thing about Hayden Hurst is we went and I've caught your show about this before, Steve, but we got Hayden Hurst because we traded our 2nd round pick to bring Hayden Hurst here.
Yes, sir.
So we need to utilize him. And Hayden Hurst was just on social media like a week or 2 ago complaining that he's not being used in our offense.
I saw that.
What?
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. This is the guy nobody seems to talk about. Russell Gage.
Oh, man.
Guy,
Woo!
who gave you 7
Hey,
receptions, 800 yards,
hey,
4 touchdowns, is like the 3rd/4th option.
And listen, and I'm gonna let you finish. And you think about Gage. Gage was basically scooted up because obviously Calvin moved up to 1, Julio moved up. Calvin moved up to 1. Gage basically became your number 2. Dude, he passed with flying colors as far as taking that number 2 position and keeping it real. I'm sorry, Tidy. Go ahead. Keep rolling.
No, you totally fine. So with all that said, the Atlanta Falcons have more than enough receiving options as is. We don't need to bring the fourth first-round draft pick and make as another receiving option. Because truth be told, Pitts is pretty much nothing but a wide receiver who's going to put his hand in the dirt for a lot of plays.
Exactly.
That's all he is.
That's it.
So we would pretty much be drafting a Julio clone while Julio is still here making $23 million a year. And what do we sit here and say about what are our biggest complaints outside the quarterback? Oh, we got to fix the trenches. Man, we got to fix the trenches. Oh, boy, we got to build up the defense. Once it's time to draft, we say, well, let's go ahead and get him like a wide receiver. Like, I don't understand that rationale from anybody who tells me that. Like, why would y'all want to do that? Like, and then not only that, that's how we've really been building this team since Arthur Blank has bought this team. Right. You get some high dollar, high equity wide receivers, you get your franchise quarterback, and we try to outscore everybody. It hasn't worked. That's a recipe for failure for this Atlanta Falcons team. It just has not worked for us. We can go back to 2012 season when we had some success in the playoffs. Right. You had a Roddy White who was still in his prime.
Oh, absolutely.
He was highly respected in the league.
Yep.
You had young Julio Jones before the injury started messing with him. Mm-hmm. You had Tony Gonzalez who still could give you anything you asked for, and you had Harry Douglas.
Yes, sir.
That produced 32 touchdowns that were thrown. With all that firepower, they gave us 32 touchdowns. That's pretty good, but it's not great considering what you have. Now, let's fast forward to 2016, Steve. Okay. Now, follow me on this.
Okay.
Follow me on this.
I'm with you.
Matt Ryan's easily his greatest season.
By far.
Even in his greatest season, you only, and excuse me, y'all, for saying the word only, but I'm trying to make a point.
No.
You only got 38 touchdowns thrown in his greatest year. So ultimately, what I'm trying to say, and I'm not going to call here and knock Matt, because that's not the point of my call, but he's not that type of quarterback. You bring Kyle Pitts here, instead of throwing 26 touchdowns, he's going to throw 28 next year, and then we're going to be here the same time next year complaining about the same type of problems, Steve.
I everything you said is on point, especially when you start talking about drafting, especially at number 4. Folks, we're not talking about 14, ain't talking about 18. Shoot, I'm not talking about 11. The number 4 pick in the draft, y'all want a tight end when you're sitting over here saying to yourself, wait a minute. Last year we went this route. We got Hayden Hurst. We got what thought was going to be a running back in Todd Gurley. You still had Ridley. You still had Julio. The thought process is that you were good in that position. If you draft a tight end right now, I think you're basically saying, I need Matt to throw 10 more touchdowns. Tidy, Jay, tell me the truth. Do you think Matt Ryan can push up 40-plus touchdowns at this point in his career?
No.
Okay. And so let's not pretend. The only caveat I'm going to throw in there right quick, and I'm not trying to be a Matt Ryan apologist on this. Our running game was pretty dominant for stretches of 2026. And the reason when you say 38 touchdowns, which was so pretty good, he didn't have to throw 40, 50 touchdowns that year because our running game, as constructed, was meant to take the pressure off for him to have that Peyton Manning 50 touchdown year, that Deshaun Watson 4,900 yard year, because we had a little bit of balance that year. So maybe that took away, and I work with me. I'm not trying to say that he wasn't good. I'm just saying your numbers might diminish if you have a balanced offense. Our offense was pretty balanced. We had a pretty balanced offense that year. So I'm not going to judge the 38 as not being really good, because both Tevin and Devondre was eating that year, both of them. Right. So that's my only point. bring to that.
Now, tight end, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you, John.
All right. You saw what I put up there, and you responded to every time I put it up, and every time that they had a discussion about bringing more weapons.
Right.
Why are you buying new bullets for a rusty gun?
Right.
Your constant in this equation is number 2. It's the constant in all of the equations. Now, I pointed this out years ago that every time the bed was wet, you knew who the baby was. Every time the bed got wet, you knew who the baby was. It wasn't number 1 baby that, wet the bed. And you look at him and you point to it because it's not the fact that Matt is trash. I have never said that Matt Ryan is trash.
Oh, wait. Stop lying. Hold on, bro. Come on, dog. You said, come on, Jay. Look, it is Sunday, bro. Don't you come up here talking that line. You got a Matt, bro. Look, you probably trying to. You see this great portrait of Matt Ryan throwing this right here. I bet you in your house there's a toe up doll of Matt Ryan underneath that little 8-inch TV you got in your house that's sitting up there for all the hate you had when you throwing it at the TV for Matt Ryan.
Steve, you remember that episode of Sanford and Son where Lamont was trying to get Fred to start watching TV and he put that picture of Esther on top of the TV?
Tidy, I got to deal with this all the
time. God bless you.
Man, my brother Tidy, man, we're going to let you roll, man. Thank you so much for joining us, man. I'm gonna hit a couple of these comments. Thank you as always. And listen, Tidy's going to be with us. Listen, y'all. Tidy, myself, Marcus, Brian, Nicholas, we're all going to be together on draft night in the Atlanta Bird Gang group, y'all. So all of us together at the same time on this kind of same format, talking to y'all. I can't wait. I'm excited about that. I am super excited about that. So can't wait to do that with you in a couple of weeks, brother.
I'm very excited about it. So everybody who's listening, make sure you tune in. Don't worry about going to ESPN.
Yeah.
Fox Sports. Come right here with your brothers and talk to us.
We absolutely. We appreciate you, brother. Thank you, man. We'll holler at you down the line, man. Happy birthday to Mars, man. Happy birthday.
Hey, thanks again, y'all. Have a good evening.
Be good, brother.
Get your liquor early.
Yeah, I'm trying to tell y'all have no idea. Listen, the one difference when y'all looking at ESPN and NFL Network, we don't have any problem with those folks there. But you get a flavor, a local flavor from the guys you used to talking to here in the group. And that's what we appreciate. Caller, how you doing? This is Steve. Identify yourself for us. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, Steve, this is David, man.
David, brother, how you doing today, man?
I'm good. I'm good, man. I'm good.
Talk to me, man. Shoot, don't leave me like that, man. I know you got something to say. I mean,
I got something to say, Steve.
I know you got something to say. Look, I'm gonna put you on the spot, David. Since me, you, and Jay sitting here together, we got a couple of other folks sitting down here that's giving us some comments. So I'm gonna let y'all start answering these questions since y'all here with me. Chris says this fan base will lose their mind if they draft Chase or Smith at number 4. Well, I'll tell you this right now, Chris. They ain't drafting Jamar Chase at number 4.
No, they're not going to take Jamar Chase.
Yeah, I'll see the Pitts thing before Jamar Chase.
Yeah. Makes absolutely no sense.
Absolutely. Miss Toya, how you doing? She always joins us. Thank you for joining us again, Miss Toya. She says, which defensive player is worth the 4th pick? That's for either of y'all.
Not one.
Yeah.
Not one. They got the highest ranked defense player they got on there is Sertain Jr. right now. And they play him at 10 for the Cowboys. And I don't even see him. I just don't see him before 15 myself.
I think he's gonna drop. I think he's gonna drop outside the top 10. There was a time when people were saying that he might end up being number 3 at one point. when they were talking about in this draft. But what do you think, Jay? Is there anybody that you see that's defense that could be number 4? I mean, number 4.
Not a one. Not a one. I mean, and if anybody talk about Parsons, number one, Parsons got all kind of character issues. Number 2, he did play. He opted out of this season, so we don't know what we're gonna get with him.
Right.
So, I'm really out on Parsons myself. I'm really out on any defense. I'm really out on anybody's defense first round for the Atlanta Falcons myself.
That I hear you. Jay, do you think anybody? Jay, do you think anybody is number 4 worthy from defense?
In another timeline on another planet, I say this. I say this. Now, it might be a little shocking, but I've already said this before. If we're going to go to a legitimate 3-4 defense, you need an anchor piece at nose tackle. Now, I've identified 3 people that you can put at nose tackle. But thing is, you can get them down the weight. You can get them down the weight. So, quarterback, like I said, if it's me and it's my money and my team, I got to get a quarterback. And my bias is what my bias is. However, logic is on my side as far as, trying to convince everybody else. Because the thing is that, look, you don't know what you have either way. You don't know what you have coming out of this new quarterback that you're going to get. You don't even know what you're going to get out of Matt Ryan. I'm looking at trending. Looking at the trending, and it's going down.
Way down. Dave, talk to me, man. What did you have on your mind today, brother?
Now, Steve, I want to go back to something you said about the thing about that report that came out this week.
Yes.
About them not being not being on the same page.
Yes, sir.
Steve, we cannot have that kind of situation right now. We can't have that kind of situation. Not right now. Not 25 days to the NFL draft. Steve, right now, teams have about 2. They'll put together at least 2 or 3 draft boards, Steve. They'll put it and that kind of decision. We don't sound like we got 1 put together. Steve, besides the number 4 pick, we got 8 other picks to consider. Now, what we gonna trade some of those picks, move up, move down, trade that into the second round. Whatever we gonna do with those picks, we need to have a plan together. We need to have 3 plans together. 25 days left to the NFL draft.
Hear me out when I say this, Dave, and hear me out. 2021 media is a tricky thing. 2020's media is a tricky thing. But the first month when these guys were both hired and they had separate press conferences, one of the things that stood out in both press conferences is that they were kind of both locked in step with what they were saying and what they were talking about. As far, both of them said, well, yeah, we want to win now, but we want sustained success. Came out of both of their mouths. Both the same exact phrase. I think what happens is you've been seeing them have separate interviews. I've seen Fontenot on NFL Network. I've also seen him on the Atlanta Falcons website. I've seen Arthur Smith on Scott Van Pelt. I've seen him on NFL Network. And I think what happens is there are people that may take a small part and maybe blow it up for a story. Listen, right now, as far as the draft is concerned, do you know who the number 1 trending team right now talking about the draft is? It's the Atlanta Falcons. You have a no-brainer at number 1 with Jacksonville. You have the New York Jets who just traded Darnell, so it's no mistaking what they're doing at number 2. And you have San Francisco that jumped up to number 3. And I'm sorry, I've heard some outlets say maybe he's jumping all the way up there to get Matt Jones. I don't think so. So with all that being said, I don't think it's such a horrible thing that there is a difference of opinion. Now, to your point, David, As long as when you're here watching us, which I hope you are on draft night, as long as they're on the same page that day when we go into the draft, I'm fine. But what I don't want, David, is one person with one idea and we all just say, let's go along to get along. I like the idea that you know what, that Arthur Smith says, you know what, they brought me in here. I can change something about Matt Ryan. I can make him a winner again. Now, my heart of heart says he can't, but I can make him a winner. But it's okay. Terry Fontenot says, you know what? We got this thing fresh. My first pick is going to be the best quarterback I can get. So I don't have a problem with that part. I can understand why you do, but I don't have a big problem with that.
Okay, Steve. Okay. I hear you on that. I hear you on, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. I hear you on the, well, to kind of paraphrase what you're saying is,
right.
If everybody's thinking the same thing, somebody's not thinking.
And that's my point. This franchise, we said that Mitroff and Quinn, one of the biggest arguments that people used to say is they have the same thought. They thought the exact same. I want a little tension in my room. I want a little tension at the table when you say we should pick this guy and I should pick this guy. Let's talk about it. Let's beat it around. As long as they're not pulling out knives, we good. But they need to discuss it together and try to see, you know, what we can come up with as a consensus for the future of this franchise. So, yeah, I do want them on the same page when it's all said and done. But, you know, I just don't have a problem with it.
But here's my point, Steve. Right now, this is just too important to draft right now.
This is true. You're right.
Because
you're right.
Too important to draft right now for any kind of serious dissension. For any kind of serious dissension right now, and that got 2 more years, and I want a new quarterback, Steve. That to me is serious dissension.
Very
serious dissension.
Very.
And this, we're at a turning point in this franchise. Are we going to defend?
Yeah.
Or are we going to become the Browns?
I listen, and your point is correct. Now, for the record, you know they came out, what was it, Thursday or Friday, say they smoked the peace pipe and everything is good.
Yeah.
But I think they did that to get ahead of the story more than anything else. If you ask me, they didn't want. They were like, look, it's been happy, joy. Let's keep all the stuff in house, and however that leaked, I don't know how that leaked, but let's make sure we keep this thing in house. Brother David, who is your best and worst pick in Atlanta Falcons history on the draft?
Yeah, I know your boy sitting there thinking, I ain't gonna prove my best pick, but our best pick in Falcons history was Matt Ryan.
Oh, absolutely. Listen.
It was Matt Ryan.
Look, you can say, look, David, I just sat here a few minutes ago and told this whole place that we got to change quarterbacks. That does not change what Matt gave this franchise in 2008 and what he did as a whole up until 2017, where we were a perennial winner, not a perennial playoff team. We were in the playoffs more than we were out of the playoffs his first 10 years. So you have to look at that. I'm looking at the only part we're talking about with the change is the last few years, of course.
Yeah.
But that's what about a worst pick, Dave?
A worst pick? Oh God. God, let me see. Let's see what Jamal Anderson out of Arkansas that year. Lord have mercy. 2 cards in the 3rd round. Jesus Christ. I got nightmare of him being moving right.
Look, you can't go wrong with either one of them.
Lord have mercy.
Jamal Anderson, I just think about that pick. We're getting ready to put that up on the screen in a second right here. David, brother, we appreciate you, man. Make sure you join us. We still got a couple of weeks left for draft, but you're going to join us, I'm sure, on draft night and check us out, man. Thank you so much for joining us up here tonight, brother.
Yes, sir.
We appreciate you, man. Take care. All right, Jay, before we totally get off point, we supposed to put this list up of the top drafts in Falcons history, and the best drafts and the worst drafts. So we're gonna put this one up real quick and see what we come up with. Now, last year, we all know you can't judge last year. There's no way that anybody's gonna give me you can't. The book is still out right now on AJ Terrell. Not AJ Terrell. I think AJ Terrell did a good job. Marlon Davidson, we didn't see him enough. Matt Hennessy, we saw some flashes of him, definitely at the guard position. Michael Walker came in out of necessity, and Jalen Hawkins, of course, because all our safeties went down, he had to come in. And the punter, well, he was a punter. What in these last 2 years of draft do you see that you say you agree with or disagree with? Keeping in mind that the folks left already.
Well, now in 2020, the jury's still out.
Yeah, there you go.
2019 and 2020.
Yeah, I agree.
Although Caleb McGarry was scary for me. He was really scary for me with that heart issue that popped back up. And people have said that they have drafted people with known situations like that before, and it didn't flare back up. And I'm, messing with that when that oil pump go bad. That's bad.
Yeah,
that's major.
That's major. It is major. But he did okay last year, though. They didn't call his name a whole lot last year. The way I look at my defense, if you look at it, where was most of the pressure? And I saw, and I think that was Chauncey that brought up a point. I don't know whether that's Chauncey or somebody else that brought up a point about the pressure coming up the middle. I saw more pressure come up the middle on this team than I saw at the ends.
Yeah, because the A gap is the Achilles heel to zone blocking.
Yep.
You come straight up Peachtree Street because he's zone blocking is supposed to draw people to go to men. Yeah. When they flow to the right or when they flow to the left, you're supposed to create natural holes for your running back to go through. Now, if the running play is called straight up Peachtree Street, if your center can't hold his water or draw that nose tackle or one of those two linemen with him and create that hole, you're dead. Where did the worst man? I hate to even ask this question, but the last sack Matt Ryan took in the Super Bowl was straight up Peachtree Street.
The middle, right?
Okay. You couldn't stop it. I was looking at a what was it? Last time we played Tampa Bay. Vita Vea. I will never forget it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Then Baltimore. Man came straight. He just mashed the doggone center right into the dirt because he wasn't big enough. So, and see now something else too. I see a name on here, Steve. Now we got to talk about this just for a second. Quadray Allison.
Right.
Now, Steve, they drafted the man. They didn't play him for 7 games for 2 years straight now. 2 years straight. You didn't play this man for 7 games. He wasn't hurt. Wasn't nothing wrong with him. But then you stick him in after the bye week. You stick him in. You say, and there are people saying that, okay, well, the coaching staff said he wasn't good, so how you practice is how you play. Well, guess what? The coaching staff gone and the man's still here.
Right. Well, and that's interesting because again, they made some cuts on the team.
But that's what
So somebody thinks he's worthy enough to stick around for a little bit. So, I don't know whether the jury is out on him. It's obvious that he was in somebody's doghouse in this team. Somebody he ticked off, didn't bring coffee to, or something. Something like that.
Wait a minute. When the coach is in the doghouse and the player is in the coach's doghouse, I mean, good grief, you in the.
well, the good thing about him is he's cheap right now. So
and see,
so that's the great thing.
That was my point. He was cheap. If he was that bad, he was that bad and he's that cheap, why is he still here? Why do you still have Russell? Why did Dan Quinn just keep him around?
Well, you know why he's here now. He's here now because we don't have anybody else.
You don't have nobody.
Right.
This man never got a fair shot, so I can't judge him. I can't say he was bad. And I'm saying, wait a minute, where's Allison? D&D, coach's decision.
I see that. I see one of the comments down here. Chauncey says Julio was the best, Beasley was the worst. I'm going to disagree to a certain extent about the Beasley thing. Listen, we can say all we want about Vic Beasley, especially the last couple of years and everything, but Beasley at least gave us a couple of years. Beasley, and we don't win, folks. We don't go as far as we do in 2016 if Beasley doesn't have the year he does. I'm not making an excuse for his production in the last 3 years before he left. But I'm saying when you say the worst, he can't be the worst. That we had plenty who were worse than he was. He was definitely not one of them. I look at in the last few years, and when I say years, we'll say the Dimitrov years. I thought the 2016 year, I don't think it was a coincidence that we did as well as we did when you look at what we brought in 2016. And you remember the mantra that Arthur Blank gave us. What did he tell us, Jay? He said he needed at least 3 starters in that draft. And give Dimitrov credit in 2016. He brought 3 bona fide, solid guys in. When you start talking about Keanu Neal, you start talking about Deion Jones and Austin Hooper, who has gone on to much greener pastures financially over in Cleveland. Devondre Campbell was somebody, especially in that last year, and people forgot. He led the team in tackles his last year before he left. Now, I know he went to Arizona, I think it was. After that, I really didn't want to get rid of him as it was. But when you start talking about drafts in the recent memory, that was one of the best drafts that we had. Now, going also to 2015's draft, which also played a part in the success of 2016. Vic Beasley, as much as to the chagrin of Chauncey, I see Chauncey's put something else, said Beasley had a great season because of a good secondary. I don't want to hear that. That our secondary hasn't been more than great ever. So I beg to differ. I think he had a fluky year. I'm not trying to sit here and make him Von Miller. I'm not trying to make him any past Shaq Barrett or anything like that. I think Vic Beasley had a one-off year and did what he was supposed to do. Vic Beasley was fast. Now, he couldn't move folks, but he could run around folks. And he took advantage of that for 1 year. And he also had another year where he had 9 sacks. So I'm not quite ready to just dog him just to dog him. But yeah, the last couple of years were less than. Go ahead, Jay. I'm sorry.
Now, no. One thing I wanted to say about Vic Beasley is that he had a bookend.
Yeah,
benefited from a bookend.
Yeah.
Now, whenever you get 16 sacks in a season and show up in a Super Bowl or get prominent, coaches are going to start paying attention to you.
Right.
And I see Chauncey Leggett's comment about.
Yeah, and he's absolutely right. Because having Freeney on that other side, Chauncey, you are spot on. Gave him more help than. I'm not saying our secondary was straight garbage at all. I thought True and Alford did a great job. I always thought Alford was the better cornerback, in my opinion. I thought Alford was better. I think Alford was handsy, but I think he was better. But when you start looking at it, I always thought that he was better. But as far as Vic Beasley was concerned, he definitely benefited from having Freeney on that other end.
And thing too with Vic Beasley.
Mm-hmm.
See, the thing is, if Cox had stayed here, and see now, if Cox had stayed here, he'd have been in his behind the same way he was in Rashid Hageman's behind. Now you're about to go down there. I see Rashid Hageman's name in that 2014 draft there. We got to have a conversation about that. But Vic Beasley did not improve because once that bookend was gone, the only threat on the line coming off of that end was him. So they were able to put their best blocker on that side and stop him. Now, Vic Beasley, if the defensive coordinator had been thinking, I'm just going to say this, you would have moved Vic Beasley all over the field. You don't know where he coming from. Put somebody else over there, rush two at the same time coming off that end. It's things that you could have done and things that Vic Beasley himself could have done to improve himself. Because Chuck Smith said, son, if you come to my camp, I got you. We're going to make this thing work. And then you remember Dan Quinn said, I'm gonna put Vic Beasley in my doghouse and put him in my little factory here, and we're gonna make him better than what he was. And it didn't work. The man didn't even show up.
It didn't work. But listen, it's hard when you talk about Beasley. If I'm not mistaken, his first year, did he get 4 or 6 sacks? His rookie year, it was either 4 or 6. He didn't get a whole lot. He may have gotten 6. May have gotten 6. So
scroll over, Steve. Scroll over on that.
I was just looking at that. Let me see if it goes over. I think I got this thing. So big that, because I'm blind. I'm trying to see it. I'm trying to get the scroll.
I can't see nothing.
I'm trying to scroll this thing over, man. Hold on. I can get top to bottom. I think I got to go all the way to the end of the row to get this, but I'm gonna find out in 1 second. But yeah, going back to what your point was about Dan Quinn putting him in his factory. At that time, Dan Quinn had a little bit of equity. Think about it now. Let's not pretend like 2015, 16, and 17 didn't happen. 2015, disappointing because you went 8-8 after starting 5-0, but going from 4-12. I mean, not 4-12. I think we were 6-10. The year before, you did see things that were trending in the right direction, especially defensively. Then you go from that to leading the league in the NFL. And yes, you benefited from Freeney. You benefited from a very underrated young Grady Jarrett and Rashid Hagelman up the middle at that year, who were doing very good that year. Because to your point, Brian Cox came in and kind of showed them what's going on. I guess my biggest point is, whether he got help on the other side, he still got the 16 sacks. And what probably happened was we thought he was going to be more than he was. There was some who was telling us a lot of those sacks were kind of phony. But if you got 16 sacks going into the next year, the first things ever said, well, he should put up at least 10. And I think he put up 1 year, he put up 9 the rest of the way going in. But I can't just going all the way back to his thing to say Beasley was the worst. He couldn't have been the worst draft pick that year. But also going back, Jay, look at that 2015 draft that helped the 2016 year. That, like I said, we just discussed Beasley. Jalen Collins, probably the most, the person that you, along with Rashid Hagelman, two guys that you just say, man, if y'all could have kept your business straight, because Jalen Collins never came back and played for anybody, but he came in and filled in for Trufant pretty well, if you ask me, down the stretch. You think about it, remember down the stretch, it wasn't Trufant. Trufant was gone the last 5, 6, 7 games. That was Jalen Collins.
Mm-hmm.
Tevin Coleman at number 3. Even though we had Devonta coming off a pretty good year, they went on and drafted Tevin Coleman. Tevin Coleman, remember, starting running back week 1 that year, but got hurt. And Devonta had to come in and get him. Justin Hardy, not going to be mistaken for a great wide receiver, but, did some solid things in there in between. And, of course, probably the most, in my opinion, during the Dimitroff years, when you start talking about maybe the most undervalued draft pick during his tenure, that Grady Jarrett pick at number 5, man. You got to look at that and say, give them some credit for some scouting.
Oh, definitely for Grady Jarrett, and he's earned his contract already. In my opinion, Grady Jarrett has earned his contract already because see now he is just so man.
Now when you start talking about him, Grady needs some help. Grady needs some help.
Yeah, and see that's why I said to the previous caller, in another universe where you didn't need a quarterback or where you just needed defensive help, that would be, I would say you definitely got to go get a nose tackle. And I mean, I'm not talking no just is 300-pound nose tackle. See, Steve, on defense. Well, I say on offense too. These lines of scrimmage, 300 pounds don't mean nothing. Okay? 300 pounds, 298, 299, 301, 302, that don't mean nothing. If you playing one of those teams, Dallas, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, they 335 pounds, 340 pounds at the center, nose tackle, whatever. They are going to run you into the dirt. You're going to have to try to hit cracks because the zone blocking scheme doesn't work unless you catch somebody at an angle. That's the only way that these zone blocking schemes work. But mono, when you run right up against that man, you're not moving. You're not moving. So that's why I'm thinking that we need to get bigger on the offensive line and defensive line. And the people that we have drafted, they still not big enough. You're drafting for a wide zone blocking scheme. And now Philadelphia made it work. because they were able to find big offensive linemen that could flow and move to a certain degree. But big boy football, slobber knocker football, look, you're going to have to be able to move. You're going to have to be big. And if you want to get bigger, get somebody off of that defensive line over there. Come here, son. I want to show you something.
Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. It's slobber knocker who's the only team right now that was, and I say was because of one change, who's the only team playing slobber knocker football right now? Who's playing line them up, we just gonna run you down and impose our will upon you and run the ball down your throat? Who's the only team doing that?
Now, Tennessee
is the only team doing it. And we just put their head coach.
Now,
Steelers to a certain extent, Chauncey, but the Steelers haven't had anybody back in the back who can run the ball. They really haven't had anybody to tote the load. And I go back, Jay, when you talk about Jay, when you say Tidy was talking about Marlon Davidson was supposed to be the help for Grady Jarrett. The hope is we can get a healthy all year Marlon Davidson. I hope so. That's the thought. I think we can.
Now and add Cleveland to that list with Nick Chubb.
True, and Kareem Hunt. Now, don't sleep on him. Don't sleep on him. Yeah.
Now, Marlon Davidson. Well, he's right. He's right. Marlon Davidson was supposed to be that help, but always, if you
the same thing about Cleveland,
right? Yeah. If you got one, get two, because you don't want to be like the Falcons are. Well, we're gonna put this man in for rushing downs, or we're gonna put this man in for passing down. Look, I want that pressure coming all of the time. I don't want no certain downs where you pull this man out and then you too light. All it takes is an audible on the line of scrimmage, seeing that your great big nose tackle isn't in there. Oh, big boy ain't in there. Chicken check switch, 5 on 6 on 3, whatever. You done change the play because you don't have the man in there to put the pressure in there. So always get two. Always get two.
Well, that's what I think this year is going to happen. I think this year you're going to see them get two guys this year. I'm not sure, even with the signing of hometown guy Mike Davis, I'm not sure if that's going to be all you're going to see coming to Atlanta this year when you start talking about running the ball. I haven't heard a word about Todd Gurley, and it's kind of interesting to me. I'm not sure if Todd Gurley even thinks he's next level anymore. If Todd Gurley says, I want to come back, he knows he's not going to probably be the starting running back, but I would love to see them take a chance on him, possibly to come back and maybe do some inside the 5-yard rushes, because let's put it this, he had a nose for the end zone. I know he's done as far as the everyday 20 carry back, but it would be interesting to see what they do with that. Chauncey says, I like big boy football simply because when your pass game ain't working, your run game should. It also opens up the pass game. It does. Absolutely it does. I think when you start looking at the more successful teams, I think you see a little bit of both. Green Bay doesn't get to the NFC Championship if Aaron Jones doesn't do what he does. Kansas City, who had to kind of change their narrative a little bit, even though they won the Super Bowl, they wanted some balance because they didn't want Mahomes getting killed like he did in the Super Bowl. Now, the Super Bowl, they were missing their starting tackle. So I'm still going to put an asterisk by that win as much as, Tom Brady, give him credit. I got a feeling if Mahomes has some help on the edges, I think we're talking about a whole different game. I'm not saying that you don't. You absolutely must have a run game to succeed, not only succeed, but to probably be a realistic Super Bowl contender. I go back again when I was talking about Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers at the beginning. Folks that it doesn't matter what kind of scrubs they had running the ball or the offensive line that's not giving them any protection, especially with Russell, they still find a way to do it from that. They still find a way to take care of business when you ask me. I'm gonna throw this one draft up here, Jay, because this is the worst to me by far. This was the worst draft that Dimitroff had, and ironically, it came in a year that we went to the NFC Championship. We were probably already set from 2011, but if you look at that list of diamonds in the rough, and I say that tongue in cheek, for 2012, led by the great Peter Kantz at center, and the big hulking Lamar Holmes at the number 3 spot. Just look at that whole list, man. Did any of them stay more than? Well, I think Lamar Holmes stuck around for a cup of coffee, I think for 2 years. But is there a draft in the Dimitroff era that was worse than that? I don't think it was.
And that's a murderer's row there.
I mean, you look at all those guys. Did any? Now I know Cons, they threw them in there to start, unfortunately, a couple of times, but that was pretty bad.
And
that was pretty bad.
Now, coincidentally, wasn't that the year that we played the AFC East? Because I remember the Falcons were playing the Jets. I think it was a Thursday night or a Sunday night. What? No, it wasn't Sunday night. That's a premier game. It had to be a Thursday night or a Monday night one. The Falcons were playing the Jets. And
was that the what's my boy name? Was that the Geno Smith game?
Yeah.
That was the year. That was I'll tell you exactly the year that was. That was 2013. And Lamar Holmes was on that team. But that was the 2013 game. That was the game that, like I said, that was coming off the championship year. And Geno Smith came in. He was straight, glad, hefty trash bag that year. And that particular game, if I can probably go and reach and find my stats, Geno put up like, I don't know, 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. See, I'm trying to think, but this game, whenever it was, because I'm trying to think, was it Geno Smith out there or somebody else? But at any rate,
yeah, that was.
I'm trying to think of the defensive player that just made Peter Combs, man, look. The game was on Channel 2.
Right.
So that's either Thursday night football or something of that nature. The game was on Channel 2.
It was a Monday night game.
It was a Monday night game.
Monday night game. Oh, I remember the game. I remember the game wholeheartedly. Oh, okay. Absolutely. Like I said, I'm getting ready to pull up the stats for that particular game. Go ahead.
But Peter Combs, I was just talking about the defensive lineman that just took Peter Combs, picked him up, threw him off of Channel 2, and I changed the station. He was over there on Channel 46. Knocked the nut. They knocked that man completely off the TV. I mean, it was just ridiculous. He just treated him look. That's when the coach just tell you, son, get your stuff and get out of my locker room, get off my field. Call your mom, have her pick you up and go to the Dairy Queen and get you a nut sundae or something, because you don't belong out here on my field. You too light, you too small. you know, and this supposed to have been your center.
I stand corrected. He only threw for 199 yards, but he was 16 for 20, 199 yards, 3 touchdowns, passer rating of 147.7. I just remember that because he was so trash for every other game that year. But he came here into Atlanta, and again, this was the year coming off of the championship year. And I just almost similar to what we did coming off of the Super Bowl year. Seems like every time we have a great year, we play the AFC East next. But remember, we had the little when we came off of 2016, we played New England, Jets, Miami, and Buffalo. I think we played them all in a row and won 1 out of 4. And I think it was the same thing this year.
And see, that's the thing. See, the AFC East, the AFC Central, whenever we play those two divisions, we're playing against SEC offensive and defensive line 9 times out of 10, because they will come down here and take every player we got out of Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi State, or LSU, whatever. And we will go way up there to Alaska and find somebody, in an igloo someplace. Hey, son, come on down, and stick them in there at nose tackle. When you got, man, look, these people down here in the SEC, they hungry. They got a chip on their shoulder. They ready to show the world what Southern football is all about. And that's why, I'm always talking about drafting people in your home state. You got the best football conference in the country. The AFC East is full of them. The NFC North is full of them. The AFC North is full of them. I mean, where football started, look, those cold weather teams, I think Chauncey put up a comment saying that cold weather teams love to run the ball. And see, the elements up there. You got to run. You got to have a good running game if you're going to get out from up there. Even at home, you go up there in Cleveland if you want to. Talking about you going to throw the ball, and then late effect snow and all that stuff going on, man. Okay. You'll mess around there and get your coach fired.
I think it's just amazing to me that with all the success that they have in the SEC, that team that we don't look at it. But again, let's give it a chance. This is the first draft of Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith. It's so easy for us to fall back on what the other folks did before they got here. It's easy. It happens. We all are guilty of it. We're going to judge what we draft going forward on what Dimitroff did in the past. And it's hard. It's hard not to think that way.
You're right. Because look at what New Orleans picked up in the past 10 years.
Right.
You remember that defense was trash too. 5 years ago?
Big time.
Man, they were shopping at home. They started shopping at home. Got LSU right up the street.
Yep. And
man, look, I'm telling you, this man here, when he fired that whole scouting staff, he said, "No, y'all will never buy no groceries from me."
Well, I think that's what you think about it. Listen, going out of the door, there's a reason that you're going out of the door. There's a reason Dan Quinn had to go. There's a reason that Thomas Dimitroff had to go. Because you every year you drafted, every year you chose free agents, and every year since 2017. That's football years, 3 years is a long time, y'all. We can't sit here and stop pretending like let me put it this way. When we excuse the futility year after year after year. We sit here and said, but Matt would do this if, but Matt would do this if. And I go and look in the Pacific Northwest, and I see that big-handed Sierra married to Russell Wilson. And every year, with a garbage running game, with trashy wide receivers before Metcalf came along. Metcalf's pretty solid. Defense that can't stop water. Y'all remember we should have destroyed them that first game. Their defense was giving up tons of yards. And after the game we played, when they went undefeated 4 games, after that they started letting teams average 30 plus. But they had a quarterback that broke through all that and said, you know what? Despite all these shortcomings of my team, I'm throwing y'all on my shoulder and we're going to do this. Now, of course, this summer he came out and kind of piped about it a little bit, but what did they do? They went out and got some offensive help. They went out and got a little bit of defensive help, and hopefully they'll turn the corner. Here in Atlanta, we got to stop the Matt would be good if. Matt would be good if we had a running game. Matt would be good. Hold on. The same people that sit here and talk about how the defense let him down. Well, last year we went out and got him a tight end. He didn't get utilized. The couple of times I saw Hayden Hurst catch the ball, it looked like Hayden Hurst was a pretty solid tight end. I don't think you dropped off from Hooper. I just don't think you used him enough. In my opinion, I don't think Hurts was that bad. You had a all-pro, not Pro Bowl, all-pro wide receiver in Calvin Ridley. And still didn't get the ball. You still didn't get the ball to him enough. For many a time, my friend over here sitting next to me told me for years, and I wouldn't listen to him, and I would chastise him, and I would just talk about him. Matt Ryan holds that ball too long. When you're 30 and 31, it might not be as bad. But when you're 35 years old and you're patting that ball and giving the 1 second you pat that ball, Shaq Barrett on this side. The other second you pat that ball, JPP on the other side. You have to start thinking about the future, y'all. We got to start thinking about it.
Now, I'm going to say something, and I don't know whether you've seen it or not, but there's a chart in the reference work that you're using right now. I know you're going to Pro Football Reference because that's my go-to site for all stats. There's a chart that indicates time to throw.
Mm-hmm.
It's time to throw before the pocket breaks down or the quarterback gets rid of the ball.
Right.
You know who's number 2 in time to throw on average in the whole league?
Matthew Ryan?
Matt Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that was in 2020.
Right.
And, there are times that, you don't have a lot of time to throw. You don't have a lot of time to look, and you get sacked because somebody let somebody in. Because quarterbacks
Of course. All of them get that, Jay. All of them
are going to get sacked.
Yeah.
There's no shield of steel and no offensive line that's going to stop a quarterback from not getting sacked 16, 18, 20 games a season. Okay, you're going to have to take sacks. But that stat tells you that you got plenty of time to make a decision in comparison to all of the other quarterbacks in the league, whether to throw it, whether to throw it away, or whether to take off running, whichever one you want to do.
Right.
Because defenses are going to heat you up. If you start getting hot and the front 4 can't get to you, or the front 3 can't get to you as a quarterback to sack you before you completed a pass to a receiver, they're going to heat you up.
Yeah.
They're going to take the chance and heat you up. Bring 5, bring 6, whatever it takes, okay, to get you off of your spot, out of your rhythm, and get a sack and stop you right there, because that's on the line of scrimmage is where defense is being played now, right down the line of scrimmage. Because, see, in the secondaries, you cannot cover those receivers all the time. They are too quick. They're designing pass patterns that the quarterback can get rid of the ball in less than 2 seconds, right, or less, or a second or less. In 2016, and I want everybody within the sound of my voice to go and look. They have a highlight of they have highlights of Matt Ryan in 2016. What Matt Ryan did in 2016 is something that Kyle Shanahan was in his behind about. Right. Sitting up there looking and staring at the doggone receiver from the time he get dressed in the morning until you decide to throw him the ball. Okay? What Kyle Shanahan changed was something that Bill Walsh taught Joe Montana a long time ago. Look this way, throw over there, because that man is supposed to be right there. Because the 5-yard chuck rule that was instituted in 78, that's when San Francisco took off. You can no longer knock receivers down. You can no longer beat them up and down the field. It's a timing situation. You look and see, Matt Ryan turning his head was the key to 2016. That arm strength work that they did, but turning your head, you don't have time to stand back there and try to hit long passes or whatever. And it's not necessary, and it is not the design of the play, because a lot of people are trying to say that Dirk Cutter was calling too long a pass play. There were times that a man was open as a Waffle House right in front of him, and you standing back there jumping and stepping and patting the ball and all this type of stuff here. And next thing you know, you dead. Hey. Come on, man. And that's why, Steve, when you get this new quarterback, when you get this man, keep him as far away from Matt Ryan as you can. Put that man down on that end of the bench, and Matt Ryan down on that end of the bench. They need to send emails to talk.
Well, the only thing I disagree about that part. Everything else you said up to keep it apart. Because the one thing you do want is, I don't care who comes in here. Matt Ryan has missed 3 games in 12 years. Matt Ryan, if anything Matt Ryan will do is Matt Ryan will see somebody with more talent, and I say more talent coming in, raw athletic talent coming next to him. When is the last time in 12 or 13 years has Matt looked over in practice and saw one of the guys who are wearing one of the red practice jerseys who has any type of talent that'll push towards him? I think the only person they thought they kept along was Shockey when he got hurt his rookie year. But Shockey got hurt that year, so he wasn't able to even throw up a challenge to that.
Hey, what about that quarterback that they got from Boston College? There was another quarterback they got from Boston College, black dude, if I'm not mistaken. Oh man,
not Sean Renfro. And he was on the squad.
You know what I'm talking about?
I'm trying to think who you're talking about.
There was a quarterback that came from from Boston College that was here. I think he got hurt. I think he got hurt in practice. I look it up. We have to see who that. Okay, but sans him, that might have been the only person that he looked on the side, and you truly say there's no competition, folks. I'm not trying to say this to send Matt Ryan out to pasture. I'm not trying to say this to say Matt Ryan is done as an NFL quarterback. On the right team, he might be. Listen, Chicago,
I think he could go to the playoffs with what they surround him with.
It's too cold for him up there, Steve. It's too cold.
Well, remember, he's a Philly boy now. He's a Philly boy. He ain't from here. He's a Philly boy. He's a Philly boy. He know what the cold is.
See, if you ain't been in that cold for 13 years and you living down here, you acclimated. you Southern now.
Yeah, you got a point. I think, like I said, I think it's not we're not trying to write his obituary. We're not trying to sit here and try to say that he is just the scourge of the earth. I don't think that's the case. I think if anything, I think to bring somebody else in here with an updated skill set for the 2020s, folks, in 2008, Matt, even though that quarterback draft was not that great, it was him, Flacco, and I can't even tell you who was after him, but the skill set needed to succeed in the NFL today is not what Matt Ryan brings. Even at his peak, Matt Ryan tried to emulate what some of these younger folks are talking about. And no, I'm not talking about a Michael Vick type of quarterback. I'm not talking about Lamar Jackson running for 1,000 yards. I'm talking about having the ability to extend plays, having the ability to throw the ball downfield more. I'm talking about bringing in somebody who can either one or two things. He's either going to push he's going to push Matt to the next level, or we'll find our new quarterback. I'm hoping it's the new quarterback points. I hope that's what it is. Chauncey says, so at this point, if we had to make a choice on who to let go first, who would it be, Ryan or Julio? I don't know if I would let Julio go. I think I would try to trade Julio. I think he would be, if you're talking about a team, I thought Baltimore was going to make a really good run for him because Baltimore was a receiver away from doing some special things. Now, they ended up signing Sammy Watkins, who is not even close to Julio. He ain't even Calvin Ridley. But I think if you told me right now, I think I would get rid of when you say get rid of.
Well, the thing is about getting rid of.
Yeah.
Is how they leave. And right now, it's a money thing.
Yeah.
It's a money thing.
Okay. I'm going to change the question, Chauncey. If both of them were free agents coming into the year, if both of them were free, hold on, I'm going to get an opinion from Tidy. Tidy said you'd have to let Julio go first. Julio's replacement is already here, and the money makes way more sense to let Julio go first. And you're right. From a money standpoint, from a strictly financial standpoint, it makes better sense to get rid of Julio. On top of Julio ain't giving nothing back to anybody. So it's money.
Two things. I want to go back to what you were saying about Matt Ryan. Well, you know what? Let me deal with this Julio situation first. I'll do that. Yeah, monetarily, right now, it's not about talent, it's about money. You know, because both players are on the descent. It's about who would give us the best financial benefit in order to move on into the Arthur Smith era. So I would have to say that it would have to be Julio because of, you know, the potential savings you could get. Now, the cap hit for Matt Ryan is so astronomical, you can't get rid of him first. Okay?
Now Chauncey threw a wrench in it, and Chauncey, I want to make sure. Now, he said not get rid of like trash. Just if one had to go, who would it be? If you told me right now at this second, it probably would make sense to get rid of Julio. As much as I'm telling you to get a quarterback to change in, Julio is, as Tidy was pointing out, is easier to replace right now because we already have his replacement in place right now. If you had to do that, I think if you told me right now, I think I would probably have to say Julio.
And see now, and I got to deal with something that Tidy is saying.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we do not need to fill our wide receiver core with itty bitty mighty mates. We need I need two big wide receivers, almost tight ends, almost like tight ends. Because see, yes, Calvin Ridley is here. Yes, Gage is here, but Gage, that's an itty bitty little old joker, and Matt Ryan was just about to get him killed. Now you had Sanu here, and you had Julio here. You had two big wide receivers because these weren't little people. They could take punishment, get back up, and be ready for the next play, and inflict punishment in the right scenario. Okay? And see, basically, that's the same thing that New England and what Tom Brady did with Gronk. Big targets, big people that can terrorize safeties and cornerbacks, not terrorize linebackers and linemen. Okay? Right. Because that bubble screen that they kept trying to run with Julio, you were going to get Julio killed because Julio ran a 4-3, 4-4, whatever it was. But Julio is just like a big Cadillac or a big Lincoln. You got to get him up to speed. It might take about 5 or 10 yards. You run bubble screens with punt returners. Devin Hester or Harry Douglas, man, you'll kill somebody with a bubble screen like that. Also, going back to your earlier point, the person that comes in here, now you got Arthur Smith. You got Arthur Smith's. He has a wide receiver coach. He has a quarterback coach. You got all that. You, Mr. Coach, when you come here with Matt Ryan, you're gonna be here for 2 years. I'm just saying, Matt Ryan is gonna be here for 2 more years. You got to do the same thing that Shanahan did. You got to make this, whether he has competition in camp or not, you got to make this man uncomfortable. Steve, we didn't have no doggone backup quarterback here until they brought Shaw in. But Shanahan made Matt Ryan uncomfortable. He made him uncomfortable. He made him work. He said, I see potential in you. You need to do this. Now, you remember that first year that Shanahan was here? Oh, man, it was all kind of, it was all kind of legitimate mess going on with the Falcons as far as Shanahan, Matt Ryan, Roddy White, and us trying to figure out what was going on. But what happened next year? It paid off. That uncomfortability paid off. It's just like lifting weights, Steve. Look, if you get 100 pounds up 10 times, oh man, that's a great workout. Man, I ought to be wearing that size 3X shirt in another couple of days. No, you won't. You got to hurt. You got to press. You got to, look, you don't build no diamonds without pressure. You got to have pressure.
The only thing is, your whole point is very much dead on bullseye. But I just say one thing. Drafting a quarterback will put more pressure than Tom.
I agree. I agree with that.
Shanahan or anybody else. Because when you go to that practice, I'm sure you've been up there to practice before too, and you see those quarterbacks in that line, and the 4 of them are going back. You know how they do the mirror drills when they all go back and they all throw the same pass. And if Matt looks to his right and sees Justin Fields, Trey Lance, shoot, if he falls, Zach Wilson, either one of those cats that you see to your left or right, that put pressure on you. If you draft Kyle Pitts
I agree.
on this team, if you draft the offensive lineman on this team, you're not going to get any of that. Folks, the one thing that nobody has said anything about during this whole couple of weeks of drafting, this whole couple of weeks, when Schaub left and Ben Kirk got cut, we haven't signed another quarterback yet, folks. I think there's a reason why we aren't signing a quarterback yet, because I think they want their next quarterback out of this draft. If you ask me, I think that's the case.
They done argued and they done fussed. But hey, you ain't heard a peep.
Not a word. We have signed offensive linemen, we signed running backs, we've signed defensive guys, we signed cornerbacks, we signed safety, we signed, I just think that
look, we done bought everything Big Lots got on sale.
But
he can't afford Walmart.
Chauncey said, so did the Falcons waste the talent of Ryan and Julio over the years? Should we have multiple Super Bowls with the talents of those two? I think you had an opportunity to win the Super Bowl in 2012. I think that team that you had with Julio as a young pup, Roddy White on the other side, Tony Gonzalez, for everybody that's talking about, we haven't had weapons. Yes, you did. You had Roddy, Julio, Tony G, Michael Turner still producing in the backfield that year. You still had a quality team that year that should have won the Super Bowl. So absolutely. I mean, there's no reason. And look, let's keep it super real. The NFC has been the softer conference prior to maybe 2 or 3 years ago with Philadelphia breaking through and finally knocking off New England. It's been AFC dominated. Seattle snuck in for a cup of coffee. Eli snuck in for a couple of coffee. But otherwise, it's been New England, Pittsburgh, who else? Denver. I mean, it's been AFC dominated. So you had an opportunity as an NFC team with those guys to break in and make a breakthrough, but you didn't. So instead of living in the glory year, it was my brother always makes fun, but I love the irony of this song. We always laugh about when we sit back and talk about the old days. And if y'all remember, Bruce Springsteen had a song called Glory Days, where he talked about somebody who kept talking about what happened in the past, always what happened in the past. And I find a lot of our fan base still talking about what Matt used to do, what Matt did his Super Bowl year, what he did then. At some point, we got to move on. At some point, we got to start thinking about post-Matt Ryan. And Matt is here. We're not debating that. Matt's going to be the quarterback sans injury on September, whatever we start. Nobody's arguing that. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is, let's start looking realistically. Let's start, while we have this prime pick, a pick we haven't had since prior to Matt Ryan being here. While we have a prime pick, let's go get our quarterback. Let's go get our quarterback of the future. Let's go get somebody that Arthur Smith can sit back and say, even to Jay's point where he says separate them. Yeah, I get the irony. I get it. But at the same time, somebody who can learn from scratch, somebody that you can teach from the beginning. And if Matt is out there playing that play, you could be on the sideline with that surface and he come up here and say, hey, don't do that. Don't do that. And you can have your Mahomes. You can have your Josh Allen.
He gonna be saying a lot of that. Son, you get in my game and you throw my football like that, I'm gonna have my foot in your behind all the way to the locker room.
I'm gonna end on this. Chauncey put one more question out there. Say, so being said with that, why are we hanging on to Julio and Ryan when we had a chance to trade them? I got a better question, Chauncey. Why did we sign both of them in their mid-30s to long, hard to get out of extensions, knowing that it was going to be when we signed both of those guys to that last extension, you basically handcuffed yourself to them saying, we're going to win. We're going to win. And since then, we haven't done a thing.
Steve, did we have a choice? That's the question.
Yeah. I'll say this. You had a choice with length. You had a choice. You didn't have to go 5 years with Matt. You didn't have to go 5 years with Matt. You look at what Drew Brees did every year. Drew Brees did a 2-year contract. Go look it up. They didn't sign Drew Brees to a 6-year, $170 million contract. Every couple of years, when Drew got in them late 30s, they signed him to a 2-year contract, 3-year contract, where the last year was voidable, and they could go around and play with the salary cap. And what have they done every year? They go up and pick up this person. They go out and pick up this person every single year. But my only thing with them saying we're going to invest in Matt Ryan, I don't have a problem with that in 2018. He was coming off two straight playoff years. But I do say, hold on the 5-year thing. Let's make it 3 years with a team option. Let's do some of that instead of the 5 to 6 year extension. That's what we're going to be pushing this money up into the 2030s.
Yeah,
it's said and done.
But see, this was the thing. The Garoppolo signing skewed everybody because they already have Drew Brees under contract in between those years.
Yeah, absolutely.
And see, that was the thing. The Garoppolo signing for Matt Ryan anyway. Now Julio. Now I agree with you on the Julio signing because see now Julio wanted to be the highest paid wide receiver in the league. And comparing him to the one that did get it, Julio had him head and shoulders as far as talent, as far as statistics, things of that sort. But Matt Ryan, Garoppolo set the money. And look up there in Green Bay. Now, how many years did Aaron Rodgers get?
Well, Aaron he got 5. Well, but here's the problem, though. Aaron also had equity. Aaron had a ring. Aaron had a couple of MVPs. Aaron had already proven himself more than a Matt Ryan.
You're right.
By then.
You're right. But the thing was that's what the quarterback market was.
But was it Garoppolo or was it Kirk Cousins?
No, that was
Kirk Cousins. No, because Kirk Cousins, remember, Kirk Cousins signed the all guarantee money contract. Remember, he signed a 3-year contract with the all guarantee money. Matt's contract was right after Kirk Cousins' contract with the Vikings when he moved to the Vikings. That was the contract that Matt's guys and Tom Conlon had to deal with that. So the Jimmy G, I'm gonna have to double check the Jimmy G.
Jimmy G set the bar.
Was it Jimmy G?
Set the bar. His was the very first contract signed that year, and he set the bar for everybody else because Matt Ryan. They were watching and waiting to see what Jimmy Garoppolo got from San Francisco, and then they signed Kirk Cousins, if I'm not mistaken. And then now I know Matt Ryan came after Garoppolo, and when they signed Garoppolo to that money, that's when I said, they're gonna have to pay Matt Ryan because see what they could have done but it would have been coming off of like you said, 2016 and 2017.
Yeah, it was perfect timing for them to go to the table. I don't knock the agent for asking what you asked. You had an MVP season in 16 with a Super Bowl appearance. You are a high throw away from going to the NFC Championship in 17. And let's face it, during that 2-year stretch, even though Matt didn't have the greatest 2017, Matt was looked at as one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL that year. If you remember, I think he even on the little list, wasn't he top 15 that year? He might have been top 10 that year. I'm not sure.
If I'm not mistaken, yes, he was.
Yeah, Toddy says we messed up with Matt Ryan's guaranteed money. That was our mistake. He isn't worth the amount he got on the guaranteed money for his age. Sorry, you got teams like the Seahawks, Texans, who can get out of their quarterback contracts because they didn't make the same mistake with guaranteed money. And also Kansas City. Kansas City, as much as that $450 million seemed like an insurmountable amount to get over, I was watching how somebody had put on there, and I want to say that was what's the show with Mike Florio? Is that Pro Football Focus? The show that him and Chris Sims do. They were showing how Kansas City could get out of that contract in 5 years. It's not like they would be dead set on that. Before we did this with Matt, which we didn't have a choice, folks, we had to mess with this contract or we're not going to be able to sign our draft picks coming up. But there could have been some creative ways we could have got out of this contract. So the only thing I was saying, Jay, was you didn't have to go 5 years. I was trying to look up that. Me and you going to talk about that Garoppolo. Maybe that'll be the next thing. We mentioned some contracts next time we're on because we just ran over the 2-hour period, and I know I want to stop in a couple of seconds. But we're going to get on that next time. But listen, we appreciate the love. Thanks, everybody, for hanging with us and talking with us today. I'll be back on next Sunday, man, 6 o'clock. Y'all check it out. We'll be 2 weeks away from with each day that we don't make a trade. Please don't. I think we're looking at a change at the face of the franchise. Folks, thank y'all for joining us. Jay, appreciate you as always, my friend. Y'all take it easy. We'll catch y'all next time. Peace.